Kia timata tā tātou wānanga, tā tātou hui ki te karakia. Muri mai tērā, ana kua huri ki tō tātou tai urungi kia Jim Mather. Mere e rongo e rangi tēnei tō pia, tēnei tō tauira. Mere tū ahi e tō e rehu ki te rua. Tako tō te hau te atu o te pō nui, te pō roa, te pō te u, te pō te ea, te pō te tutuki, te pō te oti. Mānawa mai ai te au o te moe pai, te moe roa, te moe te huri. Mānawa mai ai te āraitanga o ngā mate, namu i te arero tapu i te hiko o te whare ngā tani whaki te wai, tēnei te whakahokia tuki te take o ngā maunga. Tari ao tā wera matariki tō ia mai te ao, ka tokona ko te ao, e pū ao ai te ata huakirangi. Ta kiri mai te ata korehira te manu, ka ao, o te ao u, te ao ea, te ao tutuki, te ao oti, ka wātea. Hāno, hara mai te toki, haumi e hui e. No rere tēnā tātou. Tēnā tātou i te tīmatanga o tā tātou hui Rangahau ā-motu tuatahi. Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, tēnei rā te mihiake. Haere mai rā ki te Wānanga o Aotearoa, ki tōna inati, ki tōna kauwanuwanu, ki te iwi nei, te iwi aumangea, manawaloa nei, ngā kai hāpai i tā tātou kaupapa, tēnei iwi kiriuka, tēnei te mihiake nei, kia koutou i tēnei ata. Koe onora ina nahi nei, i whakahaeretia te tehi pōwhiri, kia koutou i takahi mai nei te mata o te whenua, hala koutou i hara mai nei i ngā wehenga o tō tātou waka, hara mai nei i te ihu i te kei, a te tuatu ki ngā tātou e noho tata mai nei ki te wāinga, no reira haere mai rā. Kua au tetehi, kua loa e rapu ana i tetehi ingoa mo te puna mātauranga e hāngai ana ki te waka. I te mea, te ihu, te wainga, te kei, te puna mātauranga, te kāre tērā e tino noho taha me te waka. Rere whakaaro anau, kia timata rā tātou ki te whakaaro. Kua nei pēr ko te puna mātauranga ko te haumi o tō tātou waka. Nā tātou e mōhio nei ki tēnei hanga ki te waka, ko te haumi, ko tērā te wāhanga e hono ai ngā wehenga o te takere. Ara, te ihu, te wainga, te kei, ko te haumi, te wāhanga e hono ai te takere o te waka. Hoino, hei whakaarotanga tērā, matātou. No reira, haere maira ki tā tātou kaupapa. Tēnei rā te tuku atu i te wāhanga tuatahi ki tō tātou taiurungi. Kia Jim Mather, tēnei o ngā uri o Ngāti Awa. Tupu ake rā, ki tērā kāinga o māua ki te teko, me ona tini hapu kalanga ki reira, tēnei rā, te pahi poto, tēnei rā, ngā uri o era o ngā marae, ko tāi mai nei ki te kōrero kia tātou, ki te wāhi i tā tātou hui. No reira, miha kene kia koe te rangatira, Jim, haere mai kia kau anu atu mātou kia koe.
Peki mai, kake mai, ho mai te wai ora ki au. E tū te huani te moi a te koene te pō i raru ai wairaka. He kapu ki te whetu, he kapu ki te marama, e a kurau, kure, ka ao, ka awatea. Hara mai. E mihi ana ki te whenua, e tangi ana hoki ki te tangata. Ngā tene mate, ngā tini aitua, e hinga mai rā, e hinga atu nei, takoto mai, moi mai. Ko tēnei tātou, te hongo ora, e hui mai nei, i tēnei ata, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. E ngā manuhiri tuarangi, e ngā kai arataki, e ngā amorangi mai, te ihu, ki te Wānanga, tainoa ki te kei o tō tātou waka o Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. Tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou katoa. Pei Tuhirinui Jones describes how, according to the sacred teachings of traditional Tainui Whare Wānanga, Puna, the female essence, and Hani, the male essence, together created Tiki Āhua. When Tiki Āhua was completed, it was given a heart. The name of that heart is Rangahau. When the heart was implanted, it was purified by Io with these words, "This is Rangahau, the questing breath of life. It is Manawatina, the beating heart. It is Manawatoka, the throbbing heart." For us as Māori and as a Wānanga, Rangahau is around us and in plain sight. It resonates through our culture. We breathe it, we eat it, we hear it, and we see it in our whānau. Hapu, iwi, on our marae, and across the length and breadth of Aotearoa. We stand here in this room today, and as a leading world-class Indigenous provider of education as the product of Rangahau. From the time when Dr. Rongo Wetere asked, "Why are these Māori boys dropping out of Te Aumutu College?" Rangahau brought us here. From the time when our founders searched for funding, implored the community for a piece of land to build on, and fought for recognition as a Wānanga, Rangahau brought us here. Every program development, every refocusing of the waka, every tauira and whānau whose life has been changed, Rangahau brought us here. And so it is with pride and honour I stand before you to open this conference, He Whare Kōrero 2017. It is not our first celebration of Rangahau within Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, and it will definitely not be our last. But it is significant, it is an achievement, it is a culmination of your passion, drive, dedication and commitment, and we celebrate all of you for that. And so in the spirit of celebration, there are many people here I need to acknowledge. Firstly, Dr. Leone Pihama, guest speaker, senior research fellow at Te Kotahi Institute, University of Waikato, and director of Māori Indigenous Analysis Limited, a kaupapa Māori research company. E te whaia, e te Māori kura, Leone, ngā mihi nui kia koe nau mai haramai. Dr. Hohaia Collier, Takuta Ferris, Jill Matheson, Maureen Muller, and Dr. Akushla D. Shasha, nau mai haramai kia koutou katoa. Te tira Rangahau, the team who have developed and implemented Te Rautaki Rangahau 2015 to 2019, and have brought us all together today, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. I particularly want to acknowledge Dr. Shireen Maget, the Pauarehi Rangahau, Pauline Adams, Shelley Hoani, Dr. Betty Lou Iwiko, Jill Matheson, Murihu MacDonald, Sophronia Smith, Helena Winiata, and of course the indomitable Tumu Akuranga Pakake Winiata. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. And of course I've saved the best for last, the 64 kai Rangahau, kai mahi sitting in this room, many of you whom are kaiako, who have submitted abstracts for this conference. We acknowledge you all. You have accepted the wero laid before you. You have taken up the challenge to normalise and socialise Rangahau within your everyday mahi, to make it again business as usual, to enact it as a Māori natural thing it is for us, and which yet can be so easily overlooked when faced with the multitudes of demands on our time, every hour, every day. That has taken sacrifice, and we acknowledge you for that. That has taken much effort, and we acknowledge you for that. That has taken ihi, wehi, and wana, and we know that you have felt that, and we all feel that here today. Today, we celebrate the fruits of your labours. Your mahi is indeed a koha you are giving to us all at this conference. Kei ngā rauringa o Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, tēnei te mihi, nā koutou I eke ai te kōrero, mawhero, mapango, ka oti ai te mahi. So what is Rangahau? I was reminded before I stepped up here by the tumu akoranga pakake. Let's see some substance today and less style. I hope to bring a little of both. However, as always, I'll under-promise and hopefully tend to over-deliver. I've just realised that the wrong presentation has been loaded, so I'm not going to go through a PowerPoint, I'm just going to talk through these things. Rangahau, ko manawa tina, ko manawa toka, the beating and throbbing heart of Tiki Āhua. What inspires our souls and urges us to acquire the knowledge of the gods. Those are represented here in the designs you see before us. As the red and brown koru converging into each other, each has 4 piko, which represent our uara and takipu that we know are embedded within all we do. Ko manawa tina, ko manawa toka personifies the passion and drive we have as Kai Rangahau, the passion and drive that inspires excellence, innovation, and the pursuit of knowledge. Also present in this design and our understanding of Rangahau are images of ranga, or raranga, weaving and bringing our ideas together, and hau, wind, breath, and residual energies. And so Rangahau is our beating heart, our breath, energies, and the winds of change and innovation being woven together. What a rich and meaningful, culturally weighted concept that is so much greater than simple research. Pakake Winiata Tumu Akoranga explains, when you think about those meanings of hau and think about ranga or raranga or weaving it together, then you get the ideas of weaving together the wind, bringing together life's energy, bringing together the extensions of energies to produce something, bringing together the kind of spiritual energies, life force is one basis on which Rangahau, certainly as a traditional notion, is quite different from research. It's the acceptance of multiple sources of information that from a scientific point of view would be dismissed, but it is totally within the boundaries of Rangahau. I'd like to share with you a passage from Te Rautaki Rangahau, our strategic plan. In contextualising Rangahau at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, we have the opportunity to do things differently. Rangahau, our word, our way, is an expression of maintaining our rangatiratanga as a Māori organisation. Rangahau is Māori inquiry, not discovery. It's innovative, it validates Māori Indigenousness, and it doesn't have to be validated externally. As a collective consciousness grows, we have the opportunity to put a stake in the ground and take back the kaitiakitanga of Rangahau. Indigenous Māori paradigms are evident in our traditions. These sources validate Rangahau, our ways of knowing, and endorse for us that our engagement is one which has integrity, which is authentic and will produce the outcomes we are anticipating. Māori bodies of knowledge are the internal validation. Our people were great Rangahau exponents. We wouldn't be here today if they were not. We need to capture back Rangahau as a term that encapsulates the kinds of notions of inquiry to perpetuate through the Wānanga. Inquiring about things, creating quality, producing some answers, providing commentary on issues that affect our people, and we will just be doing what our people have always done, but their label for it, certainly in the tradition here, was Rangahau. And this is why Rangahau is so vital in continually moving us as a wānanga toward our aspirations to educational excellence and transforming whānau. If we look back on our humble beginnings on swampland, in Te Amutu, and through all the oceans we've navigated since then, if we reflect on why we are here today as one of the largest tertiary providers in Aotearoa, with more than 80 locations, with 1,600 kaimahi, serving 32,000 tauira and their whānau, And if we look to the future, we see a continual, cyclical Rangahau journey, ever spiral, ever developing, ever increasing. And that's fitting because Rangahau is also described as being an organic, cyclic process of inquiry with three interrelating parts you'll all be familiar with. Firstly, te kore, the realm of potential being, where we ponder and ask the Rangahau question. Secondly, te pō, the realm of becoming, where we investigate or conduct our inquiry to search for the answer to the question. And thirdly, te ao marama, enlightenment, where we are able to articulate the answer to that question. In terms of my own personal experience with Rangahau, when I think about all of this, when I bring it all together and reflect on my own life, I see my own Rangahau journey in completing my doctoral thesis entitled A Critical Analysis of Māori Economic Development, a Ngāti Awa Perspective. A key element of my Rangahau was reviewing the history of the economic development of my iwi of Ngāti Awa, and as part of my Rangahau, I considered the experiences of my own whānau to encapsulate the human impact that the various stages of colonisation through to assimilation had on my hapu of Te Tāwira ki Tuariki. As experienced by my paternal grandfather, TWoA Peri, and recorded by one of his sons, Timi Peri, the following reflections are based on Tāwira's diary, which shows and describes how life was after the raupatu for himself, his immediate family, and relatives from the hapu of Te Tāwira. And were also shared as part of the overarching Treaty of Waitangi Settlement process for Ngāti Awa in 1995. Tārewa was born at Aotearoa Rehe, a swampy area between Dick Hunia's home and the Rangataiki River on December 6, 1906. It appears that some Ngāti Awa once inhabited a pā or village here, regarded by some as a temporary haven or stopover. From here, they shifted to some poplar trees in front of TWoA Marae. Before the First World War broke out, the whānau moved again to Umuhika, near the flour mill in an old house. They were happy here. The mill was owned and managed by Te Tāwira people. His auntie Pāwhenua had one son called Moho, and after his father, George Eliot, named after his father, George Eliot, Tāwira started school at Awakapunga, located opposite the cemetery, with his brothers, but after a year, they moved again to Unipu, where his father's people lived. This time, near another marae, Hahuru. There were 3 families living here. Tau ki Waho, his uncle and his wife Atereta, Auntie Mihi, and Uncle Hunia and their family. His grandmother Katarina died during his time that they lived at Te Umuhika. The flu epidemic broke out in 1918, and as a result, his auntie Whare Ake died, followed 2 days later by his father Peri, who was still a young man. His brothers Panapa and Pohe also died 3 days later. Also an infant brother, Tiake, died, and another brother who is buried with his grandfather and grandmother at Aotearoa on the hill behind the savage home, Rākei Hopukia. 6 whānau members died literally in the space of 1 week in that terrible year of 1918. Tārewa's brother, Te Raihi, and sister Te Arani stayed with Tene Neke and Auntie Whare Ake, who became whāngai parents, and once again the whānau moved. He was employed by Tene at the age of 13 years and 7 months. 13 years and 7 months starting employment. Tene was later to become a stepfather. They built a road from Rangitaiki Dairy Factory through to the Western Drain Road. The whānau moved once again to Soldier Settlement Road in Otakiri, from there to Otamarako, and road construction took them through to the Bartons and to the hills at Ohine Pānea, down to the beach and then to Awakapunga. Within a year, the roadworks were closed down and no reason was given. As a young man, he continued seeking employment and found work for a farmer, Jim Judge, at Titeko, at the back of the now regularly used rugby football field. The land from Awiti West, Brophy Road, Goes Road and Billall Road were all filled with stop banks and drained. Work was taken over by the Whakatane City Council in 1927. When this occurred, he did odd jobs until he met his wife, TWoA. They moved back to Umuhika in 1928 and were married in 1930. There they began milking cows. The house they moved into was the whānau home. TWoA continued to work and moved 2 nephews in with them, Nuki Hoi and William Bow August, to help them milk the cows. TWoA worked very hard and lost 2 children, and in May 1934, TWoA, a daughter, was born, followed by a son, Tiaki, in April 1935, Henare in December of 1936, and Pita in September 1938. Shortly after the Second World War broke out, the scheme took over their land. TWoA and TWoA shifted again back to Te Teko in 1941 with all of their worldly goods on a waka. And in those days, a waka was a canoe, not a motaka. Uncle Perry helped by borrowing a wagon and horses from Te Kuri Ngāhu and came to Umuhika. TWoA was on the Pūtauake scheme and then worked for George Murray. Having provided for his whānau, which was now increasing to enormous proportions, he found work at the Public Works Department for a very long time. So this personal account illustrates the impact of Rangahau and also obviously the impact of the raupatu and the issues associated with the loss of traditionally held land aligned with assimilation policies. As covered in the vast majority of Treaty of Waitangi claim submissions, the resultant severe erosion of social, economic, health, educational and cultural aspects of Ngāti Awa development had long-term, multi-generational adverse implications. And therein lies the beauty of Rangahau. It can bring to life in a very personal and emotional way aspects that can translate, in this case, what Māori economic development meant for my grandfather and his generation. Ko manawa tina, the beating heart, ko manawa toka, the throbbing heart. And so, our Te Wānanga o Aotearoa journey in making Rangahau more explicit, more formalised, more visible, shows organic and cyclical movement from te kore through te pō and into te ao mārama. In 2006, Te Kāhui Rangahau, the Research and Ethics Committee was formed. In 2007, an internal contestable fund for research was established, and the first 7 Kaiarahi Rangahau research mentors were hired and trained under the watchful eye of Dr. Sarah Jane Tiakiwai. The story of their journey was later published in the Winheck journal, Indigenous Voices, Indigenous Research in 2010. It wasn't long before our thinking had developed enough to know that it was a Rangahau culture, not a research culture, we were developing. Each year, the number of entries in the Rangahau register increased. Our capabilities increased. We published articles, produced DVDs, presented at conferences, created anthologies of poetry, literature, and curated exhibitions. We embraced and acknowledged creative as well as academic Rangahau outputs. We published 6 volumes of Tōroa Te Nukuroa, a scholarly journal. We held symposiums, we travelled, we collaborated. We have a history of strong involvement and significant contributions to WIPSI, the World Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education, and we support large contingents to attend and present every 2 years. It was all a good, solid period of learning and growth, and there is still more refinement and growth to be done. In 2013, when I arrived at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, I had a simple vision for our organisation, which was to build, adapt and succeed, to build on the past foundations laid so skillfully by our founders, to adapt to the ever-changing environment in which we operate, and to succeed as a uniquely Māori and Indigenous development organisation. Whakatupu, whakahāngai, whakaeke. In 2014, we established Te Tere Rangahau, a rōpū of experienced and inspirational kai rangahau who would lead our next stage of growth and development. One of the first things Te Tere Rangahau did was to ask you, what barriers prevent you as kaimahi from engaging with rangahau? What support do you need? What rangahau do you aspire to? You spoke, we listened. From that Te Tere Rangahau, produced a 4-year strategic plan, Te Rautaki Rangahau 2015 to 2019. 2 years in to that work, you'll see presented at this conference are the results of the many efforts to provide better support, fit-for-purpose support, and to encourage what we instinctively and naturally do. We inquire, we challenge, we wānanga, we inspire. So here we stand, hosting a Rangahau conference, which is the first in its current form in this new era. We're preparing to distribute our second volume of a new journal, Wahia Ngā Ngaru. As of today, we have 150 approved and active individual Rangahau plans, an achievement of 83% of our strategic target. So well done to all of those involved in that mahi with our Te Tira Rangahau. We have prioritised our focus on Rangahau so that all degree kaiako are required to engage in Rangahau that supports their delivery content. This is excellence in education. This will mean that we remain current in our subject areas, comply with recent external monitors' recommendations, and ensure we remain leaders in education in Aotearoa. We have been invited to be part of Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga Planning Committee for their next international conference in November of 2018. Our kai Rangahau have also been invited to publish in the externally reviewed journals Mai and Alternative. Our relationship with Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga is continually strengthening. It is one vehicle for our brand to become increasingly visible in Aotearoa and the tertiary education landscape. One such opportunity was an invitation to present our Rangahau strategy at the Ngā Pai Hui Ato in Wellington in May. Feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and Te Rautaki Rangahau was described as ahead of its game, ahead of the game. A co-publishing opportunity with TWoA publishers in early 2018 provides another opportunity for degree kai Rangahau to have their Rangahau nationally and internationally recognised. It's also an opportunity to generate additional revenue for both Te Wānanga o Aotearoa and Rangahau itself. Preparations are currently underway to identify degree teaching staff who will participate in the 2018 performance-based research funding round. Participants will be supported to complete and submit high-quality evidence portfolios in June 2018. The benefits of participating in the 2018 PBRF include regular revenue over a 6-year period until the next round in 2024, and participating degree kaiako will be awarded a PBRF rating, thereby complying with the degree accreditation requirements and recommendation from degree external monitors to be Rangahau active. Perhaps one of our most exciting and significant achievements since the rolling out of the strategy has been the work of Dr. Akusla D. Shasha. Her flagship Rangahau project on the revitalisation, reclamation and learning of Te Reo Māori won a seeding grant of $60,000 from Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga. Homai te paki e te whānau. The potential for this project to launch us onto the New Zealand global research stage is significant. Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga recently congratulated Dee and Te Wānanga o Aotearoa for winning this funding over established academics in this field. Both they and we expect the project to grow into an internationally significant piece of work. So where are we going now and how will we get there? Our Rangahau strategy is a vital part in achieving Te Pai Tawhiti 2027, our long-term strategy. Part of that long-term strategy is the building of centres of excellence. Rangahau will be a significant component of building those, and in particular building a centre of excellence for Te Reo here in Kirikiriroa. Significantly through the work of Dr. D. Shasha, whom I've just mentioned, a recent report also part of our Rātaki Mātauranga confirms that the operationalisation of Te Rautaki Rangahau continues to contribute to the building of a culture of Rangahau scholarship and educational excellence at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. While kaiako continue to grow in their Rangahau capability, a more targeted approach will ensure all degree teaching staff are Rangahau active and therefore compliant with the NZQA accreditation program requirements. This will be a key operational focus for the next 2 years, along with the following key priorities: increasing additional funding for Rangahau, increasing Rangahau publications in externally peer-reviewed journals, broader project-based Rangahau that contributes to an organisational footprint, and strategic project-based Rangahau that addresses organisational operational needs like quality evaluation systems and processes. So it is clear to see how Te Rautaki Rangahau 2015 to 2019 promotes alignment, provides clarity, encourages engagement, and inspires accountability to achieve our organisational vision. So 2 years into the strategy, results are strong, but it is now time for us to do 2 further things. Firstly, to celebrate the work that has been done, and that's a key driver behind this conference. And secondly, critically analyse the efforts of the last 2 years, because that is an inherent part of the Rangahau process, reflecting, refining and refocusing. So in conclusion, I stand here and challenge each and every single one of us to maintain the mounting momentum of our Rangahau culture. Continue to set personal goals and increase your Rangahau engagement. Lead through your Rangahau practice, promote kotahitanga through collaboration and strong communication, innovate, lead the world in best practice Indigenous education, and be at the forefront of educational excellence. Nō reira, ki te whai au, ki te ao mārama, Rangahaua. Tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou katoa. O te wairua, mā te rangi mārie me te aroha e pahere ana. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora te whānau. Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou te whānau. Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou ngā rangatira. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe Jem. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. So in 2015, when we came together as Te Tira Rangahau, we considered multiple perspectives as we tried to figure out how to develop a Rangahau strategy for Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. We listened to many people. We listened firstly to our whānau at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, because it was important for us to develop a strategy that was relevant to our context. We travelled as far as Te Wānanga o Raukawa, and we listened to many scholars over there. And one of the leaders of Te Wānanga o Raukawa who shared his wisdom with us was Matua Hohaya. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Matua. It's a privilege to have you here with us today to support us in our first national conference for Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. Kia ora. We also listened to Leonie Pihama. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Leonie. And Leonie shared with us her insights of kaupapa Māori theory. And it is indeed an honour for us to have Leonie Pihama here with us today to share her thinking with all of us. Kia ora.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Leonie. And she's somebody that many of us know already. But Assistant Professor Leonie Pihama is of Te TWoA, Ngāti Māhanga e Māhanga a Tairi descent. A mother of 6 and a grandmother of 4 as of the 6th of October, 2017. She is currently the director of Te Kotahi Research Institute at the University of Waikato, and also works as a professor in education at the university. She is a board member of Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga and a leading kaupapa Māori educator and researcher, and has extensive experience in the fields of policy analysis, Māori women's issue, and the politics of representation of Indigenous peoples. Leonie has worked on a broad range of Māori education research projects, including Marae Ākura, teaching, learning and living as Māori. She has received numerous academic awards, including the inaugural Fulbright Ngā Pai o Te Maramatanga Scholar Award and the Hohua Tūtengaihe Postdoctoral Scholarship from the Health Research Council of New Zealand. E te whānau, it gives me pleasure to introduce Assistant Professor Leonie Pihama.
Kia ora tātou. Tūtai tui whakai ngā mihi kua mihi ai te atanei ki a tātou katoa, kua huhui mai nei, e raro i te kaupapa o te mahi Rangahau. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tēnā tātou katoa. Mihi hoki ki a koe pakeke nau i whakatuwhira tō tātou hui, mai te karakia, kia whakapai te haerenga i tēnei rā, no rea tēnei mihi atu ki a koe te whanaunga, tēnā koe. Mihi hoki ki a koe, Jim, rō te wai ki te au i a koe, mai te rā wā o tō tāo mahi te pauaka whakaata, no reira he mihi tēnei ki a koe. Kia koutou katoa kua hui hui mai nei. E tū whakaiti ana tēnei mokopuna o te maunga tītohea e mui o koutou aroaro i tēnei ata. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. So, Sophrony has already introduced me iwi nei, no te atiawa ngō Ngāti Māhanga, ngō Māhanga Tairi tēnei, he mokopuna o te maunga tītohea, he mokopuna hoki o tēnei au o Waikato. I tipu ke au i rongi te whenua rā i kia, e kinei ko te Peka Peka Block i Waitara. I reira tonu tōku whānau e noho ana, I reira tonu tōku aroha mō taua whenua, I reira tonu te whawhai mō taua whenua. Inga tino hariko au ki te haramai, ki te tautoko I tēnei kaupapa I tēnei rangi. He kaupapa whakahira tēnei, tēnei hui ārohi, tēnei hui mo te Rangahau, I wainganui a koutou o te Whare Wānanga, o te Wānanga o Aotearoa. Ara, he Whare Wānanga hoki tēnei. Nō reira, tēnā tātou. So, it's really lovely to be here, and it's really lovely to be in this space, and I want to acknowledge those who are watching via live stream as well, from who are holding the ahi ka in your rohi, and taking time out to participate through the web. It's a really beautiful, I just want to comment firstly on the space, because it was wonderful to walk through the gardens and to see these tohu he Whare Kōrero in these gardens, and even though there are Māori spaces in these gardens, often we come here and there are very few Māori walking around these spaces. And so it's just such a joy to walk in and see Te Wānanga Aotearoa create a space that is very Māori on this land that is also very Māori. And I also want to acknowledge the mahi toi that is gracing the walls in this whare. There is something about the work of Te Wānanga o Aotearoa that you are really known for as a wānanga, and it is the beauty that you bring to this work, both in terms of the mahi you do, in terms of the transformative work you do within our communities, but also the real beauty that you bring in terms of the advancement of both te reo Māori and tikanga Māori, and within that toi Māori. And so there is something about, when Jim talked about in your talk, one of the priorities being our brand becoming more increasingly visible in a Rangahau space in particular. And I just wanted to make a comment on that before I start talking about what I was asked to talk about, which is the work that we do. And that is that Te Wānanga Aotearoa has always been visible. You're probably one of the most visible organisations within Te Ao Māori in terms of education. And your brand is always visible. And as I said, your brand is always incredibly Māori and incredibly stunning to see in all of the spaces that you go into, which are pretty much everywhere. In the Rangahau space, what I see with Te Wānanga Aotearoa, of all the work you've done, is that for me the next step that I see you doing is actually making your Rangahau brand more visible in the space of actually saying what you stand for. What does Rangahau stand for in Te Wānanga o Aotearoa? What does Te Wānanga o Aotearoa stand for? And I guess when Shireen and Sophronia asked me to just do a little talk this morning about what we do, I think it'll kind of give an indication of what I mean. Those of you who know the work that I've been really fortunate in my life to be a part of, and the people I've been fortunate to work with, like Linda Smith and Graham Smith and Margie Hoipa, Cooney Jenkins, Trish Johnson, Cheryl Smith, Jenny Lee Morgan, those people that I've worked with closely in the last 35 years of my own personal and professional development. Most people know what we stand for. And it's kaupapa Māori. And it's tikanga Māori. And it's kaupapa Rangahau. And it's tikanga Rangahau. And it's clear what we stand for. And I wanted to just share a little bit about that this morning, as a part of the way that Rangahau within Te Wānanga o Aotearoa is developing. I think one of the questions will come, if it hasn't come from all of you to each other already, is what makes the difference between Rangahau and research, and what makes the Rangahau that Te Wānanga Aotearoa want to participate in unique and distinctive and activist and radical and kaupapa and reo and tikanga for Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. What is it that the Wānanga wants to stand for? Because we don't do research for research's sake. That's what colonisers have done forever. That's what Western research has done forever. Research for research's sake. Research based on an assumption that they have a right to know. Research based on a premise that their right to know comes from the way that they see the world, and that the way they see the world is the only way that we can analyse and understand and explain and rangahau or research our world. So everything we're doing, and everything I see the Wānanga doing, is about interrupting that. To use the term rangahau is to interrupt and disturb and make uncomfortable all those comfortable Western researchers and Western scientists, and anyone who comes from that framework, even if they're Māori, even if they're Indigenous, anyone who comes from that framework that believes that a Western way of thinking and a colonial way of thinking is the only way through which research can be done, through notions of neutrality and objectivity, all those things that we know have done nothing but create colonial outcomes, oppressive outcomes, marginal outcomes, not only for our people, but also for our whenua, for our awa, for our maunga, for our reo, for our tikanga. So that's kind of, when I was listening to Jim, I was thinking, there is a whole space inside of what does it mean for a brand to become visible? And when you create that space, who is ready to stand up for that? Aha ko te aha. Because for me, that's what it means in a research space, in a kaupapa Māori research space, is that there is a no compromise position. So when we use a term like rangahau, what do we mean? What do we stand for? And I'm asking myself this question as well. And what are we willing to stand for? Aha ko te aha. So I want to talk a little bit about the one institute that I'm in at the moment, Te Matapunanga o Te Kotahi, named with Professor Pau Tiamara with the whānau from the Mahuta whānau. So Te Kotahi is named after Te Kotahi Mahuta, Robert Mahuta, who formed the very first research centre in the country, Māori-based specific research centre, in 1972 at the University of Waikato, with an incredible staff of Māori in that school, now a faculty, who were very clear about what they stood for. Very clear about what they stood for. Very clear about te reo. And anyone who knows the history of the University of Waikato, many of you will know more than me about the history of the University of Waikato. But there is a memory of that space of Māori studies as being the place to be if you were going to study anything Māori. You went to Waikato. And so many of the people I work with have a history of coming out of the University of Waikato in that period. So 1972 is 45 years ago, the first Māori Research Centre was opened. And it was opened to align with the aspirations of the iwi and with the expectations of the iwi and of the needs of the iwi. So this is where we come from, Te Matapunanga o Te Kotahi. This is our history. This is the genealogy of our particular institute. Is that it was grounded on the aspirations of iwi and the needs of iwi and the expectations of iwi, and a particular need in terms of what was happening later with the development of the Waitangi Tribunal. So many of the early claims through Waikato came through this centre, with all of the staff at the University of Waikato of that time. In 1990, the university established a group called Te Rōpū Manukura, and Te Rōpū Manukura is a group of 19 iwi representatives. There is a representative from the chair of Te Rōpū Manukura, sits on the University Council. Te Rōpū Manukura is the voice of iwi, both of iwi of the staff, iwi of this particular whenua of Waikato Tainui, and iwi of students. So it's like the catchment, what they call the catchment area of the University of Waikato. And so those iwi meet regularly, or their representatives meet regularly to discuss the role of Māori within the University of Waikato and the role of iwi. This is the group from which Te Kotahi was developed. Te Matapunanga o Te Kotahi, our centre, was developed from this particular group. So again, the establishment of our centre was an iwi-generated, iwi-led development, even though we sit inside your typical white university. And I say that because Waikato, in my experience of universities, is really no different to any other one I've worked in its structure, in the structure that it operates. So around a similar time frame to the development of the research and ethics at Te Wānanga was the development of Te Kotahi Research Institute. And so we grew from this space of an iwi desire and an iwi aspiration. So what that tells me about our brand, or about our way of being, or about our kaupapa, is that it must be iwi-driven. The work we must do things that are linked to, aligned to iwi aspirations. They must be about transforming marginalisation experienced by whānau, hapu and iwi. Our establishment, our history, our background, our kaupapa has been laid already for our institute. So it makes it very easy for someone like me to step into a director's role with the kind of kaupapa that I carry because of the lines to the establishment of our particular research process. So the first thing I did when I moved into Te Kotahi is that we redid our strategic plan. And I must say, I do agree. I was at the hui atau for ngā pai o te maramatanga when the Rangahau plan for the Wānanga was presented, and it is an exceptional beginning for a development of a national research culture or Rangahau culture within the Wānanga. The basis for understanding the values and the way in which you want to operate is really clear in that document. I think what it is now is that what does it actually mean in real life? What does it mean when you stand that up? What does it mean when you are asked to participate in particular mahi that is research? Do you do it because it's research related to things Māori, or do you not do it because it's not Rangahau? Those kinds of questions. And they're questions that we're faced with all of the time in our mahi. But we are very clear in the development of our approach to kaupapa Māori research. We do kaupapa Māori research. That is a particular kind of research. It is a kind of research that is determined within Māori frameworks. They follow all of the kaupapa Māori principles that we understand are important in our work. We work with whānau, hapu and iwi. So a lot of the work we do has nothing to do with our institution. Nearly all the work we do has nothing to do with the University of Waikato, but it has to do with the whānau, hapu and iwi that we serve as an organisation. So all of the work we do is driven by a need and aspiration of those particular whānau, hapu, iwi, and Māori urban organisations that we work with. We are totally committed to the well-being of our people and to doing transformative work that makes a difference. That is a touchstone for what we do. So Te Kotahi will not do any research for any Crown agency that is about reproducing the inequality and the disparity and the oppression of our people. And we have said that enough now that now they don't come knocking. Because we don't want to be engaging in that kind of mahi. Our people don't have enough time for us to be working in spaces that reproduce the status quo. Everything we do in a Rangahau space must be transformative, must be making a difference, must be making a change. So when we talk about research in Te Reo, ngā mihi ki a koe Te Wānanga, D, when we talk about research in Te Reo Māori, we're talking about the big picture research in Te Reo Māori, but we're also talking about the transformative action that we all have seen when a whānau who have had no reo speakers for 3 generations put their first mokopuna into kohanga reo or puna reo, and that mokopuna becomes the first speaker of Te Reo Māori in 3 generations. That mokopuna, that act, that commitment to Te Reo Māori in that time, in that moment, will transform that whānau forever. That transformative action can have as much impact as 50,000 people walking for the takutai moana, for that whānau. In fact, in many ways it has more, because we see what happened with Labour in the takutai moana. So when we're talking about transformative action, we're not talking about it has to be a big bang theory all the time. It has to be about those many ways that we create change. And the many ways that you do that in your work that you do within your regions, within your rohi every day. The many people you touch, the many whānau you touch, the many whānau you support, all of those things are about transformative action. So when you do rangahau, how do you do that? How do you think about that in your work, in your teaching, in your events, and everything that you do? So transformative praxis, kaupapa Māori are the 2 key touchstones for our institute. If a rangahau or a research, Māori research development is not kaupapa Māori, we will not do it. If it is not transformative, we will not do it. So sometimes you have to know as much about what you want to do as what you don't want to do. Because as you grow a rangahau portfolio, all kinds of people knock on your door for all kinds of weird things. And they're tempting weird things. Because they come with a $1.5 million budget over 3 years. So which comes first? The additional income or the kaupapa that you choose to do? We all, and this is something that people like Jim and Pakeke and your management will have to think and will be dealing with every day, the same way that I have to deal with it every day with our institute. When we have to make a call on whether that weird thing with that big budget is something we're going to look at or not. And so they're not easy calls unless you have a clear kaupapa around what the rangahau is that you want to engage in. And then the call is actually, you don't even have to think through it because your touchstone is already there in place for you. So mahi ngātahi me te iwi, it was one of the first things that we were told we would do. Mai te ropi manukura was one of the first kaupapa that came. That everything we do, we need to try to be collaborative. And seeing this national gathering of all of you from Te Wānanga Aotearoa is really an amazing thing at this point in the Rangahau strategy. And I hope that you do this every year. But I also hope that you do one that's about inviting externals to be a part of sitting at the table with you, at all of your tables. Because one of the things that has become really clear to us which we have done through conferences like He Manawa Whenua and the symposiums that we do, is that the more collaborators we get in the room that are aligned to the same kaupapa, the more work we can do. And the more we can touch more areas around Aotearoa and beyond Aotearoa. So mahi ngātahi is something that is very, very close to my heart in terms of the work that we do. So we were extremely privileged to be asked by Aotearoa to come and participate in the training, the Rangahau training. We got a real shock that another organisation would ask us to do something around Rangahau. Because of the way that we work, we're very clear about who we will work with. So we've always appreciated the connection that we have in terms of Te Wānanga, Aotearoa. For many of you who are in Panekiritanga, you know this saying, right? This is what happens when we have the same karaua looking after us. Te katahi, te matapinanga o te katahi will always claim this as being given this first. But that is the power of these kinds of sayings. That is the power of having someone like Pou who is able to connect across multiple organisations. Is that actually he's giving us all the same message around the kind of work that we need to do. Innovation, well-being, inspiration. Key focuses in terms of the mahi that we do. Yeah? Koi te matapunga. And he rangahau whai kiko. Rangahau that makes a difference. Rangahau that has an essence of change. Rangahau that's got some meat and skin to it. Rangahau that does something. So in terms of the mahi that we do, these are the kinds of things that really drive us. But they are also the things that brand us. They are also the things where I can quite confidently say now that I can go into any research space and talk about what we do and who we are, and people know who we are. And people know what we do. And people know what we stand for. And people know what we won't do. And people know what we will fight for and struggle for. Because the research space is like education, a site of struggle for Māori. It's a site of contestation for Māori. There is over $1.5 billion in funding goes out in the National Science Challenges. 1.5 billion. We get less than 1% of that allocated to kaupapa Māori work. And most of the challenges were the appendix, or were the footnote, or were the second volume, but we are not the main story. What are we willing to fight for? What are we willing to struggle for? We're willing to struggle for that space. Not for te kotahi, but for Rangahau Māori. So we have all these 10 challenges happening around the motu that will not deliver, on the whole, very much to our people. And yet the challenges were framed as research that makes a difference. Research that is not same old, research that is not business as usual. But when we look across that field, we see that most of what's happening there will not benefit our people. So the Rangahau development that you're doing, the kaupapa Māori research developments we're doing, the tikanga Rangahau developments that we are doing and you are doing, they are all in a space of struggle. And that is why it's really important for us that we work together to open that space. So one of the ways we do that, and I just want to finish, is some of the connections that we have to the struggles. To struggles that are real for our people. Hands Off Our Tamariki. Hands Off Our Tamariki grew off my computer with a group of Māori working in social work and people who'd been adopted out and people who'd been engaged in fights with SIFs and MSD for 100 years, people who've been advocating for Pua Te Atatu since 1988, koutou. The social workers who have been fighting for that work from Te Rangahau for such a long time. Over the internet, we developed Hands Off Our Tamariki, and it is a strong movement to stop the ongoing removal of Māori children. So how does that align to our work? It aligns because it's a kaupapa movement that we must be engaged in as educators, as whānau. It's also something that we've aligned to a kaupapa rangahau that we've been doing for the last 10 years around he taonga te tumaiti. On an international scale, we've connected that with the Hands Off Our Tamariki movement in Australia in terms of Aboriginal communities. Aboriginal communities have one of the highest rates of the removal of children, followed by First Nations in Canada, and we're pretty well up there too. So this is a global context. So one of the things that I wanted to share is the relationship of Te Wānanga Aotearoa in a global context, because you have such a strong connection to organisations like WIPSI, which is an Indigenous global movement. So how do we do that in our rangahau? How do we connect to these global movements? No Pride in Prisons. We've been connecting with the organisation No Pride in Prisons for a number of years now and developing rangahau that will support the work they do. So in this country, we have an unspoken of school to prison pipeline that no one wants to talk about. We've been pushing agencies to look at that for at least 3 years. That is a mahi rangahau that Te Kotahi is totally committed to, with or without funding. And many of those young people you'll see as second chance learners in the Wānanga and in other foundation programs, if they are fortunate not to be put inside. Over 60% of children removed from their homes end up in juvenile corrections. Māori. Through no fault of their own. These are not bad children. These are children caught in a system. So when we're doing work with second chance learners, when we're doing work in teaching in the prisons, when we're doing work with te reo and tikanga, when we're doing work connecting our people, we're actually doing this kind of work. We're trying to disrupt and interrupt a prison pipeline that's been constructed in this country since colonialism. Because some of the first buildings they ever built here were barracks that the militia bought to house our people. Some of the first experiences we had from Parihaka were in the caves and in their prisons in Dunedin and Littleton. We know this. This is not new to us. The connections we do in our rohi, the relationship to our whenua, this is all rangahau. This is all rangahau that I think we are responsible for in the roles that we take. The submission writing, the history writing, the timelines, the providing hapu with the information and knowledge they need, that we need to fight for our land. So this is the first block taken, and we're still in a major fight. And this will come to the fore in the next couple of months. So you might need to come camping in the summer. Idle no more. These are all movements when we talk about rangahau that we must know about. So at our conference last year, we brought over Sylvia McAdams, who is one of the 4 founding members of Idle No More. Why? Because we felt our researchers needed to know the movement. They needed to know that we don't do this on our own, that this is happening on a global scale. So when we talk about Māori research, we're talking about Indigenous research. We're talking about Indigenous connectedness. We're talking about what is happening in other territories. Rangahau Māori is not about looking internally, because if our tupuna looked internally, they would never got on those waka and come here. Our tupuna have always been global thinkers, global movers, global navigators, global everything, and we need to be that too. So we know we need to do our rangahau with our own communities and with our own whānau, but we also need to connect them to our relations. The way that our tūpuna have connected us through Te Moana Nui a Kiwa. The rise of Indigenous women, as part of the Women's March against that orange dude that sits in Washington, all connected. All connected because he is going to have an increasing impact on what happens here if Winston takes us back into another right-wing government. These are all real relationships to the work that we're doing. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. We've brought out representatives who are researchers and workers and fighters on the streets of this movement to talk about what is happening for Indigenous women, particularly in Canada. Over 1,600 Indigenous women have been murdered and missing in Canada since the 70s. 1,600. What does that mean to us? It means that we have a role in making this visible. We have a role in supporting the removal of colonial thinking in Aotearoa, and one of the strongest ways I think we can do that is through the work we do in our research and the work we do in our teaching. Because rangahau must be related to teaching. It must be related to the work that we're doing in our classrooms, but it also must be connecting continually on a global level. Benita. All right. Standing Rock. We're doing work at the moment within Te Kotahi with Naomi Simmons, who's fighting in terms of the waiho, in terms of the bottling, in terms of all those things of the removal of water from this country. We should not think that this is only something happening on Turtle Island. This is something that will have future generational impacts, and we need work in these areas. What do? We need to do the research with the hapu of these areas when they require it, but in other terms, we need to support those hapu researchers who are already doing the work. People like Naomi Simmons, people like Shirley Simmons, for their own hapu, actively supporting them. So these are the kinds of things I'm saying when I'm kind of laying that idea of when we talk about rangahau within Te Wānanga Aotearoa, what do we mean? What do you mean? What are the things that are your priority? What are the relationships that are your priority? With Standing Rock, we're teaching on their Indigenous Methodologies course this weekend. Those are the connectedness. And Wipsy, you have such a huge connection to Indigenous people. So in the development of rangahau, it is about developing it out in that global way. Mauna Kea, with Pua and her whānau on Hawaii Island, of which many people connected to the Wānanga have been on this maunga to support. Many people connected to us have been on this maunga to support. The protection of our maunga and our waterways is nothing new to us. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter have one of the strongest research cultures around prisons at the moment. People that are working with African American people in prisons. We have a lot to learn from the work that they're doing. We have a lot to learn from what they're willing to do to stand up to stop privatisation of prisons, to stop the school, or what one of their scholars called from the schoolhouse to the jailhouse. So most importantly, when we're thinking about the work that we do as an institute, we think about how do we touch and how do we contribute to change both for the aspirations of our own whānau hapu and iwi within the University of Waikato region and within Te Rōpū Manukura, our own whānau hapu and iwi from which we come, because our personal connections are not disconnected from our work. So working with o te rawa hapu and manukorihi hapu around the Peka Peka block is a part of my professional work as well as a part of my personal struggle. They're not disconnected. Our rangahau grows out of those things that we have passion for, that we have a throbbing heart for, that we have a beating heart for. That's why Manuatina, Manuatoka is such a great framework to think about it. What are the things that make your heart do that? What are those things when you sense Manuatina, Manuatoka, that it wells up in you? Those are the things that will become what you're passionate about doing your work about. Those are the things that we're passionate about. Those are the things that drive what we do in our work. And then, of course, the most simple saying from TWoA. Mahi a te mahi hei painga mo tiwi. No reira, huri no te whare, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Ahawe mo aku o haki te mo. Ana, toru wha, kei te wawata ahawe mo aku o haki kia hoki mai. Te puna wai ora mo aku raukura ka kuri e. Kua taina ki te wā, e rapu ai ahau. Te kapua puringa e, ngā taonga aroha te mana e, te aroha, te pono, te aroha. Awe. Huri huri noa, ka wawata noa, kei te wawata hawe, mo aku o haki kia hoki mai. Te puna wai ora mo akura kura ta kuri e. Ua taira ki te wā e rapu ai ahau hei oranga. O mai ra ki te kapua puringa e. Ngā taonga aroha te mana e, te aroha, te pono, te aroha. Kia ora rā. Morehu kei hea koe. You may just. Kei te wai, mihi te hu.
Tēnā tātou, Leonie, tēnei te mihaki kia koe. Kei te tino mārama kia te take I tōia mai ai koe, ki konei. Rā kia whakahihi konei I o mātou mahara, I o mātou whakaaro mo te kaupapa nei, mo te Rangahau. Ai tika ana tāu, he wā tōna me tohe a Te Wānanga o Aotearoa I ana tohe. Me kōkiri a Te Wānanga o Aotearoa I ana kaupapa. Engari he tika tāu, me mōhio mātou I te tuatahi, heha aua tohe, heha aua kaupapa. No reira, e miha ke ana ka kita ngā tini mahi ki tā wāhi ka maharau. Kei mua nei I Te Wānanga o Aotearoa te ao. No reira, mihi ana kia koe. He tini.
O tira ko te whakaaro I te wānei kia tāko hātu ki a koe. Etahi mahi toi, ana ko hene ata tētahi, koia ko te tamahine tamanui te rā, closely associated with the planet Kōpū, which signifies the presence of a new day. Tuarua nei te huia kai manawa,
the huia that consumes my heart e mihi ana ki a koe kei te tuakana. Kia ora rā tātou. This brings us to the section of our morning where we're going to launch our journal, our second publication of Wāhia Ngā Ngaru. And if I could have Te Tira Rangahau and Ngā Kai Whakarite come up the front. These 200 books have been placed here this morning, and we're going to distribute those to you throughout this karakia session. Kia ora tātou.
Tēnei mea te whakarewa pukapuka mā te karakia tūturu, Māori nei, he whakaoro hou, pea. Engari, ko te whakaaro ia I tata nei, ka takina ngā tūmomo karakia e hāngai ana ki te whakarewanga o tetehi waka. Nā, ka kite atu koutou I wainga nui I te ngā karakia nei, ka puta tēnei ki te ao. Ara, ka horaina ki mua ai a koutou. Wera, koe nei te pukapuka nei, Wāhia Ngā Ngaru. Koe anō te tuarua o ngā pukapuka. Ko puta I roto mai I ngā mahi rangahau a tō Te Wānanga. Whakamauta mai te ara. Wala tamau hia tuku atu tama kia puta I te tā whangawhanga he puta ngāri ki no rongo ki te ata he tau I ra mai e. Mai e, te tukua, mai e, te tukuto. I hara mai rā koe I whē, hara mai rā koe I tū whakaotiriku, I tū whakaotiraku. O koutou manawa ki o mātou manawa e tāne kairihia. Wāro, hara mai te toki, hau I e hui e. Mai e te tipua, mai e te tawhito, mai e te kāhui o ngāriki, mai e te whiwhi ki ngā atua. Oi, ka takina te Māori, ko te Māori takea mai, ia tāne te Wānanga, ia tā whakinui, ia tamanui te rā. Tēnei te Māori te whakapiki, tēnei te Māori te whakakake, te Māori tū, te Māori tapu, te Māori no, e tāne te Wānanga no, e tā whakinui, ia tamanui te rā. He ngā kau tapatahi, he ngā kau pāpaku, he ngā kau iti, te ngā kau o tamaohine e. Kia tau te rongo mau, kia ai o rā te noho. Ko te matau kā rehe, ko te maui kā rehe. Tuku atu tama kia tiri I te toi whenu o te mātauranga purutia kia au, purutia kia mau. He kurahuna ka kapohia I te ringa o tere pūmahara, purutia kia au, purutia kia mau. Ka tupu ko te pūkenga, ko te Wānanga, ko te taura, ko te tauira, he ora te whakapiri e te Wānanga o Aotearoa e. Kia puta rā koutou hei ho pūmanoa, hei whakamaunga kanohi. He puta ngāri ki no rongo, no tāne Te Wānanga, no tā whakinuia, tamanui te rā, whāno hara mai te toki, haumi e hui e. Tenei te wī, tenei te puna tau rōri, hurana te whare uenu kui herea ki reira te ihi te tapu te mana. Te ihi kei runga whanatū au ki te pū, ki te wānanga, ki te taura, kā tū te tohi kura ko te ākingo, te mea nui ka tatu kei runga i au. Tenei te nini, tenei te nāna, tinei a tahanga o te tupua, a whitia hapainga, ko rangi nui e tū nei, ko papatua anu koe takoto nei, ko tātou, ko tae mai nei, tātou o te Wānanga o Aotearoa, mea o tātou manuhiri ko tae mai nei, i te whakarewa i tēnei pukapuka, ki te whakatairanga, kei te mahi Rangahau, ki roto ki tō tātou Wānanga. Rāingi a hou tūturu awhiti whakamaua, kia tīna, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora tātou.
Enjoy your book. Kia ora tātou. Just as you're enjoying that hākari that's just been served to you, that brings our morning to a conclusion. Me mihi tātou ki a tātou Whare Kōrero. Homai te pakipaki. Oti rā te whakaaro nui ki te hunga nā rātou e nei Rangahau. So to our kai Rangahau who contributed to the second version of Wāhia Ngā Ngaru, e mihi ana hoki te ngākau ki a koutou. Okay, how te waiata? All right, we're going to have waiata while you enjoy your book for a few moments. Following waiata, it's morning tea. Ka pai? Nā tāne. Nā tāne. Te Wānanga.